It just keeps getting later and later. That's okay. We got some time off this morning, so I'll be able to put in a good hour and a half. So let me go ahead and make sure my stream is up and running here for me. Checking my volumes. Up and running here for me. Checking my volumes there. And grab this here. It sounds like the volume's going to do okay. I'm going to drop this down here. I'm going to regale you with my origin story here in a moment. So give me a hot second to fire that up here. We're gonna do some force tokens today. Let's see, clickety here and clunk and clickety here, copy and paste and get rid of that. Okay, so hey, my name is Phil Kearney. What's up? I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and I've been running games in D&D since 1987. But I've been using the Eberron campaign setting as my homebrew environment since 2006 when I adopted it at the beginnings of 3rd edition. And then I started creating DMsGuild content, 5th edition content that I published on the DMsGuild back in 2017. But I have not published an adventure yet. So this is the next milestone that I'm creating for myself. And so what we're looking at here on screen is the Crystals in a Bar. It is an adventure for 4 to 5 characters, level 7 to 8. You're fighting undead and necromancers in the Carnwood of Carnath in the continent of Corvair. And so we are creating assets for that. And hey, Dennis, what's going on, man? Looks like a good camp so far. So far, so good. Yeah, so what we're doing is... hold on, let me fix my screen here real fast and actually get into this with you all today. Burp. Where's all my bits? My bits are going crazy. There we go. Here's the book cover that we created. There is a full list of everything that I've done and the description down here, the full playlist of all 294 episodes, all the maps, all the tokens, all the NPCs, all the creatures, all the terrain, everything in black and white as well as in color for easy laser printer and physical space is black line art. Just burn it into your page and then print it out. It's easy to go. Now like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. Full playlist, a number of different books that I've created on the DMsGuild. Spelljammer Combat Exploration, I created a ton of work on that book here on live stream, so you can see the whole process and how that goes with my my Spelljammer stream. But I'm also on the X Twitter platform. If you're also on the X Twitter platform, I'm at Phil Kearney if you're interested in following along. So let's get back to work. This was around episode 40. You can check the Wayback Machine of us making this book cover. But this is what will be on the DMsGuild once it publishes. And once you dig through the adventure, almost everything that's in here is something that's represented in the adventure. So this is actually kind of giving away a lot of the terrain and different dungeons and stuff that are in it. But right now we're creating a forest token. We're creating a forest map. Each of these trees is a separate token that we've pulled together. Here's a tree here. Currently it's black and white. The tree is broken into 2 layers. There's the canopy, which denotes where the foliage blocks sight from the air, and then the actual roots are the actual trunk and tree structure, stuff that it's not all of the branches. Obviously trees have more branches than that, but these are the ones that are significant enough to either be able to provide cover or for characters to climb into. So, and then once we finish this black and white map, we'll colorize the entire thing. And now that we'll have all this language here, this is a campground map, a place for characters to take a long rest, just a random location for characters to take rest while they're out in the Carnwood. But we'll have another map, another forest token map, that is for a specific encounter with NPCs stuck in a tree, with undead hunting them, that the characters come upon to rescue, to get information from the NPCs that they rescue. Easy setup, knockdown, hero quest stuff. But we can use all these tokens to make another example of another forest map and to be able to basically show how to combine these things together to make environment maps. Maybe you as a DM don't need to be shown how to make an environment map, but we're providing like a base illustration, flat plane base. We have all the trees that we drop in. We'll have, of course, we have the campground stuff, but that might not be needed in every map. But right now what we're doing is here are rocks, 1 rock, 2 rock, 3 rock, and then here is thicket tokens that we're creating. That's where we're at right now. Partial thicket, full thicket, and now we're going to build a sparse thicket. So that's where we're at in the adventure right now, is making thicket tokens. So I'm attempting to make these omnidirectional so that we can stack them up in any way, anyhow. And let's see. Yeah, those are good pixels. There, like that. So even though this is only part of the terrain, a character steps into a 5-foot space, and that's the space that they occupy. So I want to make that a little more sparse here. More sparsing. So even though it's only a partial tile, it's still it's still difficult terrain. It still deals damage if you try to cross through it. It's only D4. It's brambles. It's prickly and stuff. That seems sparse enough. Sparse thicket. Rocks are just, they can provide cover if you're prone. But that might not be necessary, but I mean, it's a thing you can do. So we have the thickets, and now we have our rocks. And let's see. I don't want to do a fallen log, because like a log is freaking huge, so that's not reasonable for just a random token, because they're really big. A log would be something I would maybe I want to do a log anyway because I'm talking about it. Maybe I want to do a log because I want to be able to do a log, you know. Let's I can't just do a bunch of logs, because like if I have a bunch of logs laying in the forest, I have to do a bunch of logs because they're too conspicuous of an object for me to make just one generic log token and then replicate it. I could get away with flipping it maybe. That's my 20-minute timer keeping track with me. Normally I stream until 8. It's what time is it? It's 7:12 here in Seattle. And normally I stream till 8 and then start my day job, but I am having a half day today to take care of some business. So I get to play a little late, which meant I got to sleep in a little bit. So I'll be at this until 8:30. So I have a little bit more than an hour to go today. And then I'll take care of my city business, and then I will come back. And normally on Tuesdays, I take lunch like around 1:30. And on Tuesday specifically, we work on martial powers content. But since my schedule is a little different than usual, I'm going to be working on martial powers at 11. So I should be back by 11. So somewhere between 11 and 11:30, I think I'll be gearing up for martial powers. We're going to we've rebuilt the backgrounds for Ravnica with the martial power system, and erase all of that like that. Because you don't get spells, you get powers when you're a martial character. So we have an alternate power list that characters can get instead of the spells that are defaulted with the Ravnica background. So modifying that, we are now going to do Strixhaven as well. Do the modifications instead, replace the spells that the students get with listed powers, and that's an opportunity for me to talk about the scholastic end of martial athletics and Mage Tower scholarship players, which will be a lot of fun because Strixhaven is a setting about a wizard's academy, basically. Although other it's a full caster, it's a spellcaster academy. It's not a wizard's academy. It is a spellcaster academy, where narratively characters that have mana learn how to use that mana to cast spells. That's what Strixhaven is all about. But since any full caster can attend Strixhaven, priests, bards, sorcerers, druids, wizards, warlocks, since they're all welcome, it's not about learning how to prepare spells or learn spells or research spells. It's about how do you channel mana? How do you control the energy inside of you into shape and form? Which is why there's the different color combinations, teaching the different philosophies of how magic works. It's basically what Strixhaven is. So taking that idea, if we apply a whole new magic system, like a whole new system of magic that also uses mana, then that becomes a physical education program where the martial, like the fighters, the rogues, the barbarians, the monks, can also learn how to channel mana into physical into physical feats, much akin to the Magic the Gathering cards, where you can spend mana for monsters and other character cards to spend mana, even though they aren't casting spells themselves. That's the idea behind it. And I realized last night that there's probably going to be a dozen projects on the DMsGuild offering alternate solutions to the revised backgrounds for 2024, because they've changed how backgrounds and stat gains, like your stat bonuses, are coming from your backgrounds now. There's 10 Ravnica backgrounds and 6 stats. So I've got some opinions about what stat would be devoted to each color combination. And that will be another fun piece of the color mana revision that I am going to build for the 2024 book releases. And straighten out my line art, making it a little less scruffy. I would say I have a scruffy sketching style where I do line breaks and overlaps a lot. It's not smooth ink, it's rough pencil and ink. That sometimes benefits from being gone over again, sometimes not. In this instance, it's rough in a way that I don't want it to be. Like in a non-tree organic sort of rough way, like the little fizzle bits. Those are appropriate for some textures, like thick fabrics and stuff, but not necessarily rotting wood. That would be smooth over and have its rough edges hewn down by the elements and time. So I'm going to down the pixel size to 2 pixels instead of 3 to help create a little more smooth form here. But yeah, I think I like that log. I'm good with that. keep building the piece. I can keep carving where the... This is fun. I haven't made a laydown log like this outside. I rarely use fallen logs in illustrations because they're just a giant arrow that points in either direction over that they're fallen, and it's rarely complementary to the piece. So I'm not a big fan of horizontal logs, but as a terrain token, I recognize the value, and I will probably integrate this somewhere into a piece. Into this piece. That looks good at this point. Let's straighten that line out here. For small animals, a fallen log is like a brand new community cropping up. It provides resources, shelter, and protection. And for a tiny forest creature adventurer, a fallen log or a hollowed out tree is an amazing location to theme adventures around. And if I were to do a Bloomburrow Tiny Critter campaign, it would be at the probably at the 6-inch scale. If you want to do a micro campaign, each square is 6 inches. A character with a speed of 30 can move 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches per round, right? So your map environment on your table on the inches scale, like this is like a 5x5 map. Here it would take 2 rounds for a character to traverse this space, and so you can build up a tiny environment using that 6-inch scale. So you go from 5 feet. And then 1/10 of 5 feet is 0.5 feet. That's 6 inches. So you have the 6-inch scale, and then and then 1/10 of the 6-inch scale is 1/6, 6 inch, and then it goes to 1/6 of an. Hold on, how's that go? Let me map that out real quick. 5 feet, and then 0.5 feet equals 6 inches, and then 6 inches becomes 0.6 inches, which is effectively 1/2 of an inch. So 5 feet scale, 6-inch scale, 1/2 inch scale, and then once you're down to the 1/2 inch scale squares, that's about as small as, like, smaller than that gets into, like, the 1/2 inch scale. You can have a small sized ant fit inside a 1/2 inch square. You know, like a pixie is 2 feet in size, but it still occupies a 5-foot space, but only a part. It's tiny, so it only occupies a part of that 5-foot space. Similarly, at the 1/2 inch scale, an ant is tiny. Like a fly would be small, because like a fly can be like a 1/4 inch, sure. And then 1/2 inch would be your normal people size, and then you can continue to expand from there. But you can build a micro campaign with like Bloomburrow tiny like mouse creatures and stuff at the well, if you want to do a 6-inch scale, then mice would be like 3 inches, right? So mice would be small creatures at the 6-inch scale, and then like a cat, like a small cat, a foot, or a large cat would be 2 feet, right? A 4x4 space is gargantuan square, and at the 6-inch scale, that's a 2-foot area, which is the size of a cat. So a cat would be like a gargantuan dragon creature, which, if you've seen Secret of Nim, the name of the cat in Secret of Nim is literally dragon. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. But yeah, you can easily do a micro QD campaign that way. Like Mouse Ritter, for example, is at the 6-inch scale. I don't think they specifically go into it, but if you are a tactical game designer like I am, then Mouse Ritter would absolutely be at the 6-inch scale. Anyway, forest community, right? So if you're operating at the 6-inch scale, 6-inch, 5 feet, so this would be effectively 50 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this would be 90. This would be effectively 90 feet by 50 feet at our scale. So that's like an apartment complex. So this log, this fallen log, is basically, in human terms, the size of an apartment complex that is slowly rotting away. That's the bugs and stuff that are in it can actively eat the home, and then other creatures can eat the bugs that eat the home, while the home still provides safety. So you can steer the bugs, the rot grubs, as they were. You can guide them to different areas of the tree, or get them into mulching the ground wetness underneath the tree to be able to build a rot farm, to cultivate larvae and like maggots or whatever. Good eats for a mouse. And you can make the bugs not gross by making them jelly-filled marshmallows with legs, basically. Okay, if you want to do a cutie campaign, here you go. Here is there, marshmallow, and if you take a bite out of them, they're full of jelly. There you go. That's your kank. In Dark Sun, that was called a kank, an edible bug. And at the Bloom Barrow scale of 6 inches, these things, these are tiny to medium-sized bugs that are just literally filled with jelly. Every point of damage that you deal to them, you're basically providing yourself 1 hit point worth of nourishment. They're like pests, like Witherbloom's pests in Strixhaven, where you sacrifice a creature, gain 1 hit point. That's the property of a pest. They're meant to be eaten. Man, that'd be fun. I don't know if they're. I think Bloomburrow would be a great expansion as a D&D campaign setting, and honestly, I'm kind of jiving on the idea of making that. And now that backgrounds are provide stats, that gives credence to the idea of having a stat assigned to like colors having stats, like green being strength or wisdom, for instance, like blue being intelligence or dexterity, for instance. Stuff like that. There's 10 guilds and there's 6 stats. Just like in Strixhaven, there's only 5 colleges, yet there's 6 stats. So how do you make that jive? I think we need to figure that out. And I believe we can. I believe we can. And with the 2024 redesign, I can structure the Color Mana books the same way as the new Player's Handbook is designed. There we go. There, that's a decent log. That is a decent log. I like the lines on that. Now we'll just add in details. I'm going to drop down to 1 pixel for the details here. Good. And thin this down. We're using a different line weight to like the outside structure of this. The outline is 3 pixels, and then some of this line space that's coming in is 2 pixels, and then the bark texture is 1 pixel. So 4 pixels is impassable terrain, like a solid wall with a roof on it. 3 pixels is terrain that can be interacted with. Like this log, for instance, is 3 pixels, and then 2 pixels is like descriptive, integral, like structural stuff, like the lines here cut into the rock to give it different facets. That is 2 pixels, and then this is super thin 1 pixel line art stuff. That's strictly decoration and decal, just texture. Doesn't actually have any form or function other than just making the piece more interesting to look at instead of just being a lump. And again, I gotta pay attention to the fuzziness of these lines. That looks pretty good. We'll do that another 20 minutes. There you go. Okay, good. 20 minutes. Clean those little frazzled edges. There, like that. Straighten that out a little bit. Clean that up. There we go. There. Log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. Better than that is good. Let's see. So we have our log, we have thickets, we have rocks. Let's see. We'll call this log. Let's see. Anything else? Maybe thickets are good, but maybe just some shrubbery. Three is going to be too thick. Let's just do 2 lines for shrubbery. Maybe I can. Make a pattern, and then we can add foliage to it. Not sharp brambles like that, but leaves instead. That's probably dense enough. So let's create some leaf language. I think we'll just go with a little connecting C's. Let's see how that goes first. One's coming off of each C. That kind of looks, that looks more brambly than the brambles. Let's take those away. Let's approach this in a different way. Maybe we do a little leaf, more extended, less need for sharp bramblies. I kind of like this. Yeah, I think that'll do. Yeah. 5 foot area. This is like a 2 foot stick. It's got some stuff coming off of it. That's perfect. Just like that. Nice. Okay, cool. So that is a foliage token, and I will go full foliage. I'm going to replicate that real quick. Copy, paste, and put it next to itself to test its variability. Free transform. Bump, 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 bump. There. And free transform. Bump, 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 bump. Not bad. That's a good array. We did a really good job with that just offhand. Cool. So we can bop, 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 take that back down to there. And we're going to take the thicket and scoot them over a few squares. So we have a little bit more room for our new foliage tokens. So we're going to call it foliage. Foliage. Breath. We're going to make a partial foliage. There. Yeah. I want this one to be a little more sparse. I'll open that up a little bit. And then drop that down to 1 pixel, and then there. That should be good. Let's grab that. Free transform. Boom, 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 boom. Do like that. Okay, I think I want to grab this, bring it down here like that. Down to there. I think that will copy paste, make this a little more friendly. There, nice. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that's some pretty natural flow going there. This is really good. So let's see, partial, foliage, and then we'll do sparse. There we go. Hopefully this is entertaining for folks. Dispersed. This is where we should be here. I think we need to have this facing like that, out of the corner into the night. over. Oops, didn't want to catch that leaf. Let's move this over this way so we're creating more sparse like that. That's not too bad. Yeah, see, that's not so bad. Not so bad. All right, cool. Let's get rid of that, and now we'll call this sparse foliage. Okay, so we have our assets now, and how are we doing on time? Almost 8 o'clock. I think that's enough diversity in tokens. I think we're now at a place where I'm not gonna do anything with the tokens right now. I'm just building these things so that they're assets that are present. I'm not going to scatter them around the forest until we're going to do color first, and then scatter them around the forest using color, and then we'll have the black and white version of the colors underneath them. So right now, our next task is going to be creating the forest floor. So I'm going to go back and grab the crystals in the bar, art, act 1, region 1, all right, here comes the village map. Strap in, it's a biggie. There. All right, so here's our village. All right, we'll call this our last 20-minute stretch. What we want to do is grab this texture from the grass here. And we're going to grab this texture from the trees. See, check this out. The tree canopy comes off. And then we have the tree base underneath it. Blop. Bloop. Blop. So we're going to use this texture, this language here, as our base ground, and then we're going to fill in the coloring here. And I recognize the brush patterns that we were using inside of here, but I'll probably go back to this video to remind myself how I built out all this texture, but I've got a general idea of how I had done that. So I think I can safely start by grabbing this. I think what I want to do. File, save as, pooter, ttrpg. Saving and file, open. Yeah, we'll start with this color. Ground. That's not how you spell ground. That's how you spell ground. That's not how you spell ground. That's how you spell ground. Thank you. This is how we start. Gonna work this into the canvas. Bob Ross style, make it happy. Less clouds, more smudge-like. Kind of like the cloud effect of blending. But this is just more to create a little bit of variance in the ground texture from when we lay down the tarmac onto it. This will the little variances in value, light and dark. The intensity of light or darkness is called value. So right now we're just creating a little bit of variance in the value on the ground, so that when we layer the fallen what is that word? It's not foliage when it hits the ground, and it's just fallen leaves. I guess we're just going to call it fallen leaves. But there's also bark and like rocks and different stuff. But with like this is a really red green sort of base. So when we start layering the other textures over this, it'll make it pop a little bit more, I think. So I want these little spots of light and dark to create natural variance in different locations. Just gotta work this into the canvas here. Texture is important in that we don't want it to be like too spiky. We don't want any kind of an artifact. In art term, in digital art, an artifact is when you can when the texturing brush or the type of brush that you use, the print that it lays down, doesn't complement the texture or composition of the piece. Like if I'm using a square shaped pixel and I'm supposed to be drawing a circle, every little jagged edge off of that square brush is creating a little triangular artifact that feels unnatural. Like this circle should be a smooth circle, if it has jags around it, that's because the brush that you used is crappy. Assuming that you just paint a perfect circle, right? Any jags that come off of that circle is as a result of the brush that you use. Those are artifacts. So I'm working this this tone into the canvas so that there's no artifacts, unnatural lines, or brush strokes that remain intact in the piece as we smudge it together. But as you can see, there's a slight variance in the value from light to dark spaces inside of the canvas here now, and that's exactly what we want. We want a little bit of variance and some conflict. We don't want it just to be a smooth gradient from dark to light to dark to light. We want splotches, unnatural heat spots, or cool zones. That feels about right. I know I use my pixel brush, or my fractal brush. Let me see, let me go to another area where the fractals are more apparent to me. Yeah, okay, I'm starting to feel a little more natural. Hold on, I just got a ping that was weird. Okay, we're doing good here. All right, I recognize. Okay, that brush is prevalent throughout the piece. I'm going to drop my trees back in. So I'm just tapping in this texture, right? And then we're going to fade the texture into the piece with a light eraser tool. So we can start creating some layering effects. So the density, so I'm just, this is just stippling, this is the brush, as you can see, here's the brush, and I can stipple it and spin it while I stipple it, so it makes little patterns and little shapes. But depending on how the pixels fall and how the brush spins, creates different, again, more dense and sparse areas, lighter and darker values, that I absolutely want to keep in place because that creates interesting diversity in the forest floor. So I'm just sitting here spinning my brush and tapping it, stipple, 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 spinning, stipple. And once I finish saturating the board with this, since in the village there's worn paths, that's why this is blank area. These are all the areas that typically get traffic that causes the ground to become dirt. But as you move into less and less commonly trafficked areas, it becomes thicker and thicker density. So the forest doesn't really have any worn paths into it. Maybe near the forest there's a dirt path that leads into the forest, but it will eventually disperse and fade into the ground as the traffic density lightens to the point where foliage, the fallen leaves, overtakes the wear on the ground from horses and people and carts and stuff. See, that's an unnatural. I don't want to see. I'm specifically avoiding lines like this. It's a cool tread, but it's unnatural for the environment, so it's an inappropriate use of that tool. Don't like how that hit. That was a slide. That's what happened there. It wasn't a clean stipple. I created a drag mark like that, right? And those aren't clean lines. So I'm trying to do all I can to just make sure it's just a clean little dot. I've got a nice salmon steak waiting for me for food today. Nom 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 salmon. I'll go to the grocery store while I'm out. Where are we at on time? 8:06. Really? Okay. Nah, my alarm's gonna pop in 5 minutes. I'll go ahead and stop there for the day. That'll be fine. We've been at it for over an hour. That's fine. And we're getting into texturing. This will give me an opportunity tonight to remind myself how I created this pattern to make sure I'm doing it correctly. And I know there's another. I think the fractal brush is layered over this. I just want to double check the tape. Check the tape and see how that went, because we recorded all this stuff, so it's out here for us to view. I just gotta dig it up out of the playlist that we have linked down below and check it out to see how we built this, and then we'll get into that. But that's a decent dispersal. I think that's where we want to be with this. I want to use roughly the same size pixel, but I'm only going to use a 20% density or 20% power eraser. So as I tap at this, it takes multiple taps for me to basically wear a bald spot into this. Much like if creatures were just naturally walking around, they'd have to frequent the same, again, they have to step in the same spot over and over again to wear a trail or a path into the terrain. And this 20%, and at some point I might drop down to 10%, but this light deletion effect that we got going on here, you can see how this is starting to fade into just the general environment. So I'm going to pull up the trees and the terrain tokens again. being really chaotic. I'm just trying to fade this down so that like the lines of the paint pixel, the paint stippling that we did, that it fades into the general background color enough that it doesn't draw attention to itself. Like these lines here are too prevalent currently. I want to erase these more so that this stuff all fades in more, so that there's no clearly delineating line art that's happening in this texture, that all just blends into just a rough, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a background radiation almost, you know? Because we're gonna have another layer, a different texture brush, overlaying all of this as well. So it's like a 3-layer process. The base color, this layer of foliage, and then another layer of foliage using a different brush and I think a different color. But I just want to go in and remind myself how I did that again before I full commit to it. So this is going to be a good point for me to stop, because I need to remind myself how I did the other the village terrain, to make sure I have a consistent style. Which I'm really enjoying about this process is creating a consistent look to the maps that we're building. Same language, same rules about pixels, same colors, same textures, same stippling process. Just trying to duplicate all of it best we can and make sure that there's a common look to it. And that's starting to look pretty good. I'm pretty sure that fractal brush is incorporated into this as well. That's starting to look really, really good. It's just a base grit for the grass. And how about that? There's our timing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the brakes on for today. Today. So this is starting to look pretty good. Once we get this color figured out, these terrain tokens will have a contrasting color to make sure that the tents, the rocks, the foliage, the bramble, and the canopy for the trees are in contrasting colors, that they pop out as items on the map. So that's why we want to do the ground base first, to make sure we have a common base, just a base neutral tone that we have throughout the piece that we're going to build contrast against. So to make things easily identified and seen. But that's going to be it for now. We're going to be back tomorrow morning at our normal time of probably like around 6:30, and we'll just continue the process. We'll just keep doing this thing until it's done. And once we have all this figured out, we'll be able to use this base and these tree templates and these little terrain tokens to build out the next map by just dropping things into place. It'll be really easy. Much faster. We're building all the tools on this map, and then we can just pick up and drop them into whole pieced into the next terrain map. So that's it for now, guys. I'm going to bounce out of here. I'm going to be back in 3 hours. I'll be back on, and we're going to continue working on the Martial Powers project. We're going to create the background list of powers to replace spells in the Strixhaven setting for the Martial Power system. So that's what we got going on. We'll be back in, like I said, in about a little bit more than 3 hours. And but in the meantime, like, subscribe, bell icons, check out my books that are linked down below, yada yada. And thanks a lot for being here. See you guys later.